Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back for another cooking video. Today, based off a request from people on the Facebook group that we got going on, a lot of people said they wanted to see some poultry, and today we're going to do some chicken. If you guys aren't in the Facebook group, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. It's just a place where I can field questions better and post some polls of different things that you guys might be looking for. So based off of the thumbnail, I'm sure that you guys can see that we are going to be doing some rotisserie chicken. I recently received a rotisserie from S&S Grills, and I figured that this would be the perfect video to do a chicken. My mom insisted that I go to Whole Foods to buy the chicken and also find the smallest one that I could possibly find so that it would be extra delicious. So being the good son that I am, I did exactly that. As we prep this chicken, one thing I'm trying to do is make sure I stretch that skin all the way across the entire chicken itself. As the chicken cooks, that skin is going to pull back, so we want to give it as much chance as possible to pull it all the way across. So as it does cook and it does kind of shrink up on it, we can at least give it its best chance possible to ensure there's skin coverage all the way across. Right now, the only skin that we're going to be cutting off is the excess skin that's kind of around like the butthole of the chicken, or I guess a better way you can say it is the excess fat that's by the drumsticks. We're only going to do this to one of the chickens. We're going to be doing 2 chickens, and the second one we're not going to be cutting off this excess fat, and I'll show you guys why later. Now that we got the skin stretched out, we cut off the excess fat. Next thing that we're going to do is make sure we season this. All we're going to do right now is just season it with salt, and then we're going to let it dry brine in the fridge for a couple hours. And after we season this with salt, we're also going to be tying this up, so it's really important to season all the parts that are going to be pulled together, like the armpit of the chicken, where the drumstick and the thigh kind of connect. We want to make sure we season every single part of the chicken. Lastly, we're going to cut off the wing tips off of our chicken, and we're going to be using these wing tips and the excess fat that we cut off to help us make a little sauce and a glaze for our chicken later. To tie this chicken up and make it a little bit easier for ourselves, put your butcher string in a little canister like this. It'll help it from rolling around all over the place as you kind of get more and more string out that you'll need. I'm not really good at tying up different roasts and chickens and things like that, so I'm going to show you guys a really easy way to tie up your chickens, and it's only going to require 2 pieces of string. Set your chicken so the drumsticks are facing away from you, and you're going to loop the string at the edge of the drumsticks, and then you're going to twist the string about 2 to 3 times. The more you twist it, the stronger the knot will be, and after you do so, you're going to pull the strings apart so that you can get those legs to cross, and then finally, you're going to double knot it to ensure that those chicken legs stay crossed. The second tie is even easier than the first one. You're going to lay the string straight on the cutting board, and then you're going to put the breast and the chicken wings straight across the string. And then, just like we did before, we're going to do the double, triple twist, pull it tight, and then double knot it. And as you guys can see, it's nice and compact. None of the wings or legs are wanting to fall apart. The one thing I did think about though is that, even though we're going to be dry brining it, the stuff that's kind of tucked inside isn't going to be able to dry out as much as I would like it to. So maybe next time something I might want to do is tie this up after the dry brine. But I was also worried that maybe some of the skin might tear after drying and trying to tie it up. But it's something to think about for next time. The second method that I'm going to be doing with this chicken is showing you how to basically kind of tie it up without necessarily using any string. And that's why I said for this particular chicken, we're not going to be cutting off that excess fat that's around the drums. So on one side where we have the excess fat, what I'm going to be doing is taking my knife and puncturing a hole into that fat pocket. And what we're essentially trying to do is kind of create a hole where you can jam the opposite drumstick through that side and tuck the other drumstick underneath it. For the wings, one thing that we can do is kind of tuck them behind. I'm sure if you guys have done like beer can chicken before or spatchcocked the chicken, probably have seen this a lot or done it yourself. It just helps it so those wing tips aren't going to be rotating freely in the rotisserie where they're going to burn up anyway. But I don't really like it. So we're going to take these wing tips off. We're going to use them for the sauce later, and then we're going to tie up the body of the chicken just like we did the first one. Now that we got our 2 chickens seasoned and tied up, we're going to throw it on top of a cooling rack and put it in the fridge to dry brine for a couple hours. While our chicken's dry brine, the next thing that we're going to be working on is our glaze. Me calling this a glaze is not correct. I'm only calling it glaze because it's the way that we're using it in this cooking process, but this is really a recipe made from a Chinese master stock called Lu Shui. I believe that's what it's called. Basically, it's a stock that continues to get fortified as you continue to cook with it, but what we're making today is the base of that stock. To clarify, this is not my recipe. This is a recipe that I found on YouTube from John Kung. I believe that's how you say his name. But he has this video of him making this stock, and it looks so good. I wanted to make my own version of it. I don't have all the ingredients that he has to make the stock. I just kind of use whatever I had at home. But yeah, I just want to make sure it's clear that this is not my recipe. Definitely go check out his YouTube channel. There's a lot of great recipes and a lot of good cooking techniques that he shares. To quickly go through the process of making the stock, we're going to take some onions, ginger, scallions, and then we're going to roast them in the oven at about 450 degrees. You can do this on the grill if you want to. At the time of making this video, it was I think like 12 degrees outside, which probably wasn't the best idea for a rotisserie chicken video, but that's the reason why I'm roasting these in the oven instead of standing outside in the cold. While those are roasting in the oven in a pot, we're going to take our chicken wing tips and our chicken fat, and we're going to render that in a pot. When the veggies are done roasting, we're going to bring them into the pot with all our rendered fat, and to that we're going to add chicken stock, light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, sugar, bay leaves, star anise, and cinnamon. Once we have everything mixed, and we'll bring it to the stove and let it simmer for about 40 to 45 minutes. As we let our stock simmer, we're gonna get our fire ready outside. And I was honestly super pleasantly surprised with how all this came together with rotisserie, because it was super easy to put together. I wasn't necessarily sure what it was gonna look like or how much work I would have to set up, but it's really as easy as attaching the motor to the ring, putting the ring on top of your grill, and just plugging in the motor. And the other thing I really like about this is that you can put another grill grate on top of the ring itself. Let's say you wanted to cook something where it's a little bit further away from the fire. You know, you can throw the ring on top of there without the motor and just have a little bit more height or a little bit more distance away from the heat source. Now that our chickens had a couple hours to dry brine, it's time to put them on the rotisserie spit and get them cooking. Now, I don't know the proper way to kind of put chickens on a rotisserie. I was just trying to think, what parts do I want more heat to be in contact with? For me, it would be the drums and the thighs. So the way that I put this one together is I had the breast facing the outside while having the legs and the thighs towards the center where most of the heat will be collected. And we want to make sure that we take the clamps on the side and make sure they're nice and tight so they don't loosen up. If the clamps aren't tight, our chickens aren't going to be rotating evenly. Now that it's all set up, let's bring it out to the grill. To put this in, we're starting with the spit on the opposite side of the motor, and then we're going to slowly slide it back into the motor and just make sure it fits properly. Once you fit it into the motor properly, all you have to do is flip the switch, let it rotate and do its thing. We're going to put the lid on top of the smoker right here, and we're not going to look at it for a good hour. While we wait for our chicken to cook, we're going to strain that stock, and we're going to take a small portion of it and reduce it like a glaze. So this is what I was talking about, that even though we made a braising stock, the way that we're going to use it today is more of a glaze. This is about an hour and 10 minutes into the cook, and you can see how great these chickens look. The color is fantastic. The fact that we cut off those chicken wing tips I think also helps a lot, because I'm pretty sure those would have burnt up really fast. You can also see I put in a split of oak in there. I wanted a little bit more heat, and I also just wanted a little more smoke flavor in there, and it actually worked out great. I think it contributed to giving a little bit more color to the chicken and getting a little bit more crisp on that skin. At this point, my chicken was temping pretty high and not necessarily done yet. I think it was probably sitting about 150 on the breast, and that's when I'm starting to glaze. The reason why I'm choosing to do it now, it's going to give us enough time for our glaze to caramelize, but we didn't put it on too early where everything is just going to burn. Before it finishes, I'll probably give it another layer of glaze and then let it go for another 15 minutes. This chicken is now done. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, because of the cold, this took way longer than I expected it to take. So for this particular cook, I'm not going to give you a certain time that it should be done, because my time is going to be way different than yours. So I would just say, just make sure that you guys are taking temps, make sure you're hitting the breast, you're hitting the deepest part of the thigh, and make sure you're hitting all the temperatures it needs to. But regardless, this chicken looks fantastic. We got a couple charred bits, which is always nice, but that glaze on there isn't burnt. It's nice and sticky, but I think it also kept that skin a little bit more moist as well. This chicken was super tender. One of my favorite things to do when breaking down a chicken is pulling the thigh away from the carcass, and if it's cooked really well, all you need to do is kind of break through that skin and just kind of pop that joint, and it should fall right off. The breast of the chicken was super moist, and being able to cut through the skin with every single slice was awesome. When you make something like this, you want to make sure there's skin in almost every single bite that you can take. Now that we're finished, let's get to plating. Alright guys, so let's give a taste test. So this is a piece of the breast with a little bit of skin, a little extra sauce, and some scallions on top. I gave that big plate of chicken to my parents because it's dinner time, so we're just gonna do a taste test here. I think making sure we're doing that dry brine with that salt is really important. I think it was really important that we took that extra glaze and then we made sure we kind of put it on top of each slice, especially the breast, because it kind of doesn't go all the way through. The wing and the thigh and the drum were pretty good because it got a really nice cover on the outside. I think this would be perfect for like a rice bowl, like having some rice on the bottom, putting the chicken on top, and then having the sauce kind of like dripped over on top because then it'll just soak into everything. And having the scallions on top is also really huge because even with the chicken and the sauce being really salty, I think the scallions just kind of bring some balance to the dish with everything just being really sweet and savory. And even if you had some rice on there, I think it's really important to have something that's a little bit fresh to kind of bring some balance to the dish and also give it some texture. That today's cook was a huge success. Definitely would do it again. Alright guys, so that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're looking for a kettle style grill like the S&S or looking for a rotisserie, I have an affiliate link at the top of my description for you guys to check out. Also, if you're interested in anything that I use during my cooking videos, I have a bunch of links for you guys to check out. If you guys like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and to leave a comment down below of what you guys might want to see next. And also, if you like this video, I'm going to leave 2 videos up here for you guys to check out that I think you might like if you like this one. But that's it for today's video, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.